Hey, Seth David here, your managing editor with Between Wall and Main, betweenwallandmain.com, giving you your week in review, a recap of what's happening here at betweenwallandmain.com. First, let's give you the sort of Wall Street report. The biggest news of the week, unfortunately, seems to be the disaster that took place in Orlando. So if you're reading this and listening to this, I'd like to ask you to take a moment, give a thought, or if you're inclined to, a prayer for the victims and the families of the victims of the Orlando tragedy. I'm not here to express any opinions. You can blame it on whatever you want. Lack of gun control, lack of values. Truth be told, I've got mixed feelings about it. The bottom line is whatever we're doing isn't working. Something needs to change. The other big pieces of news, again, Orlando, the Fed holding back on rate hikes. Microsoft suddenly and seemingly out of nowhere announcing the purchase of LinkedIn. Those seem to be the top stories of the week. Poor jobs report seems to have caused Janet Yellen to pause on hiking the interest rates, and a good portion of this also seems to be riding on what Britain decides about whether or not to remain with the European Union, what they call Brexit, the British exit. I don't know why, but I hate that term. Like, just call it what it is. Why do we need a clipped word for everything? And now this week they were talking about the so-called natural rate, which is the inflation-adjusted rate that's consistent with the economy operating at its full potential, expanding without overheating. It's also known as the equilibrium or the neutral rate, and it balances savings and investments. So you can read more about that if you click over on the link that I've provided here in the article. So now the big thing is, why did Microsoft buy LinkedIn, and why did they pay so much? My good friend Brent Wilsey of Wilsey Asset Management was talking about this on Facebook, and I gave you some references and a link over to that discussion that took place. But let's look at the numbers here. LinkedIn equity as of December 31st, 2015 was just under $4.5 million. I'm sorry, that was in thousands. So the actual equity was $4.5 billion. Microsoft paid $26.2 billion for the company, and if you compare that with the equity, that gives you a rough amount of goodwill. Now, goodwill is what we pay over and above the book value of a company. It's an intangible asset that we create by paying a premium, $21.7 billion in goodwill. That's going to take a long time to amortize, or it's going to be a big amortization on the books, assuming they do it over, say, even 40 years. That's going to be a big expense on Microsoft books. Maybe that's the strategy. Maybe they're trying to create an expense to reduce their earnings, because when you look at everything else, even the market value, even based on the market value, the premium was $13 million, right? Because they paid about twice the market value when you look at what they paid per share for LinkedIn. Now let's take a look at the LinkedIn revenues and see if we can make sense of this from here. Quarter one, LinkedIn earned or grossed $837 million, which is at that rate annualized, assuming they earn the same or gross around the same throughout the year, $3.3 billion. In order to recover that, based on the gross, it's going to take 8 years to recover $26 billion at that rate. That's based on the gross, but when you look at what LinkedIn is actually earning, last year is a loss of $169 million. So it looks like Microsoft is going to have to do something significant to turn LinkedIn around and get it into a profit position so that they can recover their investment and ultimately achieve an ROI. But what was interesting was when I read this article here on Barron's is that, because we were talking about how Microsoft has about $100 billion in cash, and based on $26 billion that they're investing in LinkedIn, that looks like roughly 25% of their available cash. Why would they lock up so much of their available cash in this investment, especially when they're paying such a huge premium for it? But as I read this article, what I learned is that they're not spending any of that cash. They're a AAA rated company by Moody's. They're planning on using indebtedness to finance the purchase of LinkedIn, which sounds to me like they'll be issuing bonds. Look over here at LinkedIn's balance sheet on Yahoo Finance, and that's where I got my numbers from, of course, for the total equity, and did the analysis that I did. And then I was curious to see, how did Microsoft stock do on the news? We look at what's happened here on a 5-day, and It looks like on the news, the stock price actually spiked up, which is interesting. I wonder if that's because people aren't actually doing the math on any of this, or they just got excited about the news. Now, a couple interesting things that are coming out on this. One, from what I read on the Wall Street Journal about this, it looks like one of Microsoft's plans is to leverage the fact that LinkedIn had bought lynda.com last year and use the lynda.com tutorials to build in-product tutorials on Microsoft's Office products, things like Excel and Word and PowerPoint and Publisher and all those Office products that we're accustomed to using. So that could make it interesting. But what would that mean for other companies whose products are covered on LinkedIn? Who knows? And so bottom line on this, doesn't look to me like this makes Microsoft a really good investment. They're still a solid company. They're not going anywhere. But lots and lots of questions about what their thinking is and what their strategy is here in terms of why they're buying LinkedIn and why they're paying such a big premium for it. I would love to hear your thoughts. So please comment below wherever you happen to be watching this video. If you are watching this on YouTube, click over to the post on BetweenWillAndMain.com. I would love to get your comments there and we can get the conversation rolling, because I'm really curious to see what other people think about this. I've already given you an idea what I think. I don't understand why they're paying so much and why they're doing this, or where it really makes sense, other than, like I said, they're creating a big chunk of goodwill which can be written off each year and taken as an expense. Maybe they're looking at big future profits and this is going to offset that somehow, and especially if they can finance it at a low rate of interest because they do have a very good rating. Maybe that's how this all comes together and actually makes sense for them. Not really sure. Would love to hear your thoughts. As always, I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day and an absolutely fantastic week. And don't forget to come over here and check the news feed. You can click right on news or go straight to the Main Street or Wall Street side. We are a little Main Street slanted because we did just go live and a lot of my Wall Street friends needed to see the website so that they could get clearance from their compliance departments. So now I expect to start bringing in more of the Wall Street side contribution for this website. But meanwhile, we had some great introductory posts from our Main Street contributors this week. Billy Ann Gregg with Why Collect Pocket Change, Mariette Martinez, Head Over Heels for Solopreneurs. Joe Whithone is on the Wall Street side. He's a guy that I've known for a while now, and I love what he writes, and I'm so excited to have him contributing here on BetweenWillAndMain.com. William English is talking about point of sale systems and retail accounting in general. Loretta is writing about her experience building and growing a business. She wrote a great article here and included the video called I Think I Can, and I Did. We have Katrina Way talking about the benefits of healthy numbers. Alicia Pollock-Katz talking about tech. She's giving you tech tips and tricks. So why do anything more than once is her first tech tip for the week. We're also going to be looking at my good friend Ryan Balfe, who is talking about beating up the balance sheet. So if you want to understand a little bit more about what I was just talking about, looking at the Microsoft purchase of LinkedIn, Ryan's column will definitely help you there. And then I have my good friend Lori O'Neill talking about how to work on your business instead of just in it. And Pamela Leveren's talking about business dollars and cents. And then speaking of LinkedIn and social media and Microsoft purchasing LinkedIn, my good friend Joanne Del Balso is going to be writing about that a little bit more. I've asked her to, and she's agreed to take on the task. And then we have my friend Ingrid Edstrom talking about empowering your passion, how to really grow and thrive in your business. And last and definitely not least, we have my good longtime friend Stacy Luft, who's talking about a more than money mindset. So do check out these columns. They're great. If you go into the news feed on the right-hand side of your website, this of course is subject to change. I may move things around here and there to try and improve the experience. But you'll always be able to find your columns, and if you want to go directly to any contributor, everybody is listed right here. And we have 2 new contributors coming out in the week to come, so definitely come back, check us out, and post your comments and feedback. Let's get the ball rolling. I want this to be a solid news and education platform that really provides tremendous value to all of our readers. Again, I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day. I hope you had an amazing week, and I look forward to seeing you on the web.